back to see what happens. Will it stop spreading? Let's find out.
Camel Crew, come close. It's that time again. People losing their minds, calling for the world to end. Sudden trend line break, just to spook you out. If it gets to you, maybe go fishing for some trout. Touch grass, relax, at least wait for a daily close. Keep your marbles intact, appreciate the cycle lows. Manage your risks, set stocks, let time just do the rest. Meanwhile, look forward to another Camel Finance episode to distress. Ask your partner to consider your privacy. Just don't mention your love for charts, will be seen as rivalry. Devote yourself to the cycles, treat them as your muse. At some point, it will pay you back in life-changing views. Touch grass, relax, at least wait for a daily close. Keep your marbles intact, appreciate the cycle lows. Manage your risks, set stocks, let time just do the rest. Meanwhile, look forward to another Camel Finance episode to distress. Left translated cycle or not until November to attest. Uncertain future, have an open mind to be your guest. Some will win, most lose. We'll all have to respect. Just don't over-leverage yourself and get absolutely wrecked. Emotions rise on the way to every high and low. Every day a chance to let your composure grow. Create a mental, spongy, bulletproof vest. If a black swan event arises, then GG for the shorts at best. Touch grass, relax, and
Alright, enough of that. Hello everyone. Goodness me, surprise I suppose. We're doing a live streams, I'm sure you can work out. Let me turn some chat on, because I know you guys like that. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, welcome to the live stream. I'm going to be honest, I have nothing to talk about, and I figured people would have questions. So I thought the best thing to do would be to hop on live. We'll hang out for a little while. You can ask some questions if you've got them. And then we'll just go and enjoy our Friday, because I think we got better things to do than watch these charts just pinging down into the red. I did want to show you guys one thing that I'm reconsidering for the stock market, so we will do that. I'm still under Matrix attack on my YouTube account at the moment. Things are still a bit glitchy on my end, but yeah, surprise. So it seems you can hear me. That's good. Thank you all for being here, obviously. Appreciate that. It's still kind of surreal for me. It's a surreal experience, so we can just hop on a live stream and get a bunch of people in here, have a party. 3i Atlas, right? Only accepts Bitcoin. They probably do. I think that's what they're here for. Got to be our gold and our women. Although our women are pretty degraded these days, so maybe not. Yeah, I just said that. That's one of those times I spoke without thinking about what I was saying. I did want to mention this actually, since you brought up 3i Atlas, right? Third Eye? Is it Third Eye Atlas? I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching. I probably am. But yeah, let me show you this S&P 500 chart, because I'm thinking about changing my mind about something. So if I can open the right tab here, click on this. So check this out, right? If we draw our, hang on, let me think about this for a second. I think we need to cast our minds first back to this weekly cycle low back here. Okay, now the move off of the lows, the first thing we need to acknowledge is, although crypto traders think this is nothing and inexperienced traders don't really care about this, and generally speaking, the market in general, I would say, doesn't seem to care about this. But for anyone that has been a stock trader for any length of time at all, they will know, they'll tell you, this move right here is bananas. It's absolutely insane. It's super unusual to get a move like this. The only other time I can really think of was this, which was also super unusual, but this occurred on a QE bomb of 6 trillion after the lockdown and the pandemic and all that stuff. And even at the hard right edge today, we are outpacing that move off of the lows. Okay, so this was insane. This was absolutely mental for anyone that had been in the stock market back then. And this is even more mental. And somehow people just don't really care about it this time around, which I think is weird. Okay, but to put it in context, or to try to quantify how mad this move is, from this low, all of the cycle lows have been extremely shallow on the way up, okay? And we are talking quite literally 2 to 3% to reset a daily cycle, okay? This one right here, 3%. This pullback right here looks quite big in the context, but, 3%. Again, this one right here, I think was even less than this. We're resetting the cycle in under 2%, okay? It's kind of weird. All these pullbacks are tiny. There's a 3% there, okay? Now, that's unusual, and it's also unusual to reset the whole daily cycle in just a couple of candles, in this case, one candle, okay? So all of this is pretty rare, and if you want to go away and do some homework, you can just go back to the left-hand side of this S&P 500 chart, and you will notice a couple of things, right? You will notice that through all of these cycle lows, and they can continue to go back and back and back, even though I haven't got it marked all the way back, right? But you'll notice a couple of things. Number one, you'll notice it's pretty rare to reset the cycle in just 1 or 2 daily candles, right? It's also pretty rare to reset a daily cycle in just 2 or 3% of downside. And you'll also notice that usually we get significant pullbacks along the way. We don't just kind of melt up in a straight line with nothing more than 2 or 3% on the way up and resetting the cycles in 1 or 2 daily candles, okay? So this is super weird. It's super weird. It's unusual, and you just can't find this going back on the chart. Now, originally, I was even thinking this is even more mental because we have potentially even reset a weekly cycle here in a single candle. And I was never super comfortable with that idea. But if you put it on the weekly time frame, that is week 26. Okay, let's see if I can make this clear for you guys. Click this here, here, and drag it out. So that right there is week 26 on that big candle. Okay, and that's pretty spot on, right? That's what you'd expect to have for a weekly cycle. Now, I was also thinking at the time, it's not going to be this one here because that's just too long, right? This would be quite extended, 35 weeks if we get out to the next daily cycle. And really 31 weeks is a stretch, right? There's a 31 weeker back here. This to here was a 31 weeks, and that was extremely late and extremely stretched. So I didn't really want to bet on the idea that we were going to have a 35 week or 36, whatever it is, cycle. That just didn't seem right. But I'm also thinking it seems more wrong now to just have reset the weekly cycle in one candle. I kind of feel silly. I think, if I'm being honest with you guys, I'm a little bit embarrassed that I'm even entertaining resetting the weekly cycle in one candle here, which makes me think we are probably due a weekly cycle top and a decline here, a bit more of a significant correction. So that's quite different to what I have been saying pertaining to the stock market. But I don't think it makes a great deal of difference to how we're positioned. I just think we're expecting a bit more of a significant correction here. Now, the caveat to this is if I'm wrong about this, and that really was a one candle weekly cycle low reset, then this is just going to rocket out of here like this and not look back, in which case fine, right? We're in position, who cares? I don't think anyone's going to complain about this. To be honest, I don't think most of you even care that I'm talking about the stock market. I think you're probably here for Bitcoin, but we'll get to that in just a moment, okay? But my point is simply, if that really was the weekly cycle reset in one candle, we're going to moon from here higher, right here, right now, without any significant decline and without breaking these trend lines, okay? But if, however, we do start to do this and trend down here, then I would suggest to you guys that that is most probably, let's hide this a sec, it's always glitches out, like this. I would suggest to you guys that that's because we're resetting that weekly cycle at the end, okay? So I also would note here, if that is the top and this is left translated for its daily cycle, then we can say this too, right? Right translated 1, right trans 2, right trans 3, left trans and fail to give 4. And that would look pretty straight up, wouldn't it? That would look pretty standard, pretty textbook for a weekly cycle reset. So I wanted to share that with you because I haven't really mentioned this as an idea just yet. And again, we can just scratch this whole thing off and invalidate it if we blast higher from here. But if that is about to be a left translation that confirms and starts to head down here, I don't know how low, but you know what I mean, to reset this weekly cycle, then I think that makes more sense to extend into week 35 than it does to have reset it in a single candle. So I wanted to share that with you because that's a little bit of a change of tone from me. Other than that, what else is there to say? I'm sick of my own voice, to be honest. Gold is still doing gold stuff, right? We're mostly out of the way of this market. We've mostly slayed this market since the 8-year cycle low. And I'm not sure if there's a great deal left on the table for me in the short to medium term here. Out of that half cycle low in the 8-year cycle, I think there's plenty more upside. But in the meantime, bunch of chop and churning and making all the latecomers suffer seems like what's going on here. We have still got some exposure, just in case we're wrong about that and there's another high here. But I don't have high hopes for this part of the cycle. Like I said, I think we've done what we were supposed to do, right? We called the 8-year cycle low. We traded the whole thing in and out on the way up using a bunch of higher beta assets. And now we're just in the process of taking the last bit of change off the table there. And I think it's fair to say we slayed that market, to be honest with you. So I think I'm pretty much done trading gold for a while now, for the foreseeable future anyway. And then, of course, that brings us on to Bitcoin. But before, we'll tease you for a bit. I wanted to quickly check the dollar, okay? Because we know that this is heading for a daily cycle low, don't we? If I turn this on. And we know we're on our way to that. Okay, we also know that so far, kind of like in double toppy with this prior high, and hopefully that means there's a big puke here into a 3-year cycle low inversion, and then that sets up the macro chart, doesn't it, of this, which is catalyzed by deflation, and everyone thinks inflation is sticky, and the Fed's here and in control, and blah, 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 blah. We don't care about that on this channel, okay? This makes a lot of sense to us, and if it forms a higher low out of this daily cycle low and rips, then it's probably just this from here, right? That's probably what it is. So easy as that, okay? But this should be, we should get an answer for this in the next week or two. And then we should be able to know whether or not it's going to get risk off pretty quickly or whether there is some kind of crazy final high. Now, it's interesting that this right here is occurring potentially as Bitcoin is about to find a weekly cycle low, right? We are right into this 100K battlefield right now. It keeps dipping below and then popping back up and dipping below and popping back up. I'm in a couple of minds about this. I want to strip this back as much as possible. I don't think I've got that much on here. Let's just take what's on here. Do we want this? I don't think we need that. Oh, you know we do definitely need that. We don't need this. This is like the look at the moment, right? We can argue so far so good. It's moved down. All we're missing is the swing, right? And the swing will confirm once the trend line in red is broken, okay? And then that should be it. That should be the weekly cycle low. It should be yet another higher high, another higher low, another higher high, another higher low. And until that changes, then it seems hard for me to act here. Admittedly, this is the most bearish my sentiment has been the entire cycle, right? I thought last time we got here, last time we were in this kind of neighborhood, I went live in this neighborhood as well. And I was saying, look, just don't quit yet, okay? Don't quit until you've at least seen a cycle low. At least wait for it to confirm. We were drawing this trend line across here and saying, look, there's clearly no weekly cycle low in here. There's clearly no confirmation. Just wait. We were flipping it onto the weekly time frame as well back there, and we were pulling up this Brexit, and we were saying, look, it hasn't crossed yet. It hasn't crossed bullish yet, so just wait. And I can pretty much make all of the same arguments here at the hard right edge, okay? There is no pivot in place. There's no swing low pivot. Okay, there's no Brexit cross just yet. There's no trend line break. So what do we do, right? What do we do in this situation? You can cheat the bag here if you want. You can call the top prematurely, but it is in fact premature. And it's not very nice because, you know, bull market invalidation is all the way down at 74K, right? That's a long, long way down. By the time we get there, we're looking at a decline of somewhere in the neighborhood of 40% before we can actually invalidate this bull market, right? But if I turn all of this stuff off, let's turn the cycles off as well. Okay, this is still higher highs the whole way up and higher lows the whole way up. And even if this market comes all the way down to, I don't know, 80k, 79, 78k, and then pivots and moves to new highs, well, anyone that's sold in here is just flat wrong, because that's still higher lows. That would still be a higher low unless it takes out 74k, and then it would just move up to another higher high, same as all these other higher highs, which is the literal definition of an uptrend: higher highs and higher lows. So it's not very nice to have bull market invalidation all the way down here. Okay, I understand that, and you know, no one's stopping you from selling, no one's stopping you from shorting here if you don't like that. But for me, I'm not actually doing anything different to any of the prior weekly cycles, right? In fact, this weekly cycle, I was very confident. I was making the live stream, as I said, I was begging people not to quit. Okay, fine. This one, however, my sentiment was very, very bearish, right? I was like, oh, I really don't want to go long here. I kind of got to go long just because that's what the system is telling me to do, and I got to trade my system. So even though I don't want to, and I can't really tolerate any further downside or any stop losses after that point, I had to go long there, okay? And that was right. And so when I'm saying we got to wait for a weekly cycle low, a swing and a confirmation and a trend line break and a Brexit cross and everything else, right? I'm not moving the goalpost in any way, shape or form. That's exactly what I said here. It's exactly what I said here. It's exactly what I said here and here and here and here, right? It's the same the whole way up. But admittedly, this time is slightly different, okay? And the only reason I say that is because we have used up all of this space to now, okay, between point A and point B. And a lot of people want to say there's no more 4-year cycle, or they're make-believe, or whatever the excuse is. But I just so happen to know those people are wrong, okay? And again, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to, don't have to believe me. I'm not trying to sell you on that idea. I've just traded enough 4-year cycles by chaining together weekly cycles to know that we're going to be able to chain together 2 more here and find a 4-year cycle low. So for that reason alone, I am quite bearish here, or at least bearish is not the right word. My sentiment and confidence is the lowest it has been for this cycle, because if what it does here is this weekly cycle low, capture and bounce, weekly cycle low, that will just be exactly what cycles tell us it should do, right? But the problem here and the challenge here is there is nothing in the realm of cycle theory that says we can't do this. Okay. So I want to hold on just in case, because I can't, in good faith, knowing what I know, I can't sell here to do damage control in the absence of everything I was just talking about: the trendline break, the swing, the DSS, Brexit. I also can't jeet the bag here, which would just be another higher low, okay, in only a 20% pullback from the top, when this was 33%, this was 33%, this was 20, this was 20 here, right? Like, I can't then look at this in the context and say, well, this is the end of the world. Can't do it. I need to see a swing first. I need to see a pivot low, a cycle low confirmed, and then I need to see the reaction out of that cycle low, and then I can make some decisions. So don't get me wrong, it doesn't feel good, right? I think there's a very compelling argument to be made here for the bear case, but I don't act on compelling arguments, right? I don't act on narrative. I don't act on what other people's opinions are. I just do me. And that unfortunately means we got to find a swing first, and then we can talk. So I'm going to take some questions. I'm going to hop in the comments. I think that's pretty much all I got to say. Let me get a sip of drink too. Let me check this as well. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm checking fan funding. Ain't no one donating in a bear market, right? And I don't want you to. Keep your money. Buy the dip with it instead. You're still vaguely bullish, but it's hanging by a thread. That's pretty much the vibe, I think. That's the vibe right now, isn't it? And I think it's wrong to be perma-bearish here, and I think it's wrong to be perma-bullish here. Just calling for higher prices, liquidity easing, all this other stuff is BS because of how much of this 4-year cycle we've used up. And being perma-bearish, is flat wrong as well. I keep seeing tweets today. It's probably because I keep engaging with them. But I keep seeing tweets of people clowning on Sailor. Like, oh, your stock price has crashed. Like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. Your stock price is down. But it's just because people are angry because they lost money by buying it at the wrong time, right? So, I don't know. Do you hear me smoking? No, you do not hear me smoking. I quit smoking the day my son was born. which was 3 months ago now. How do we know if it's just a counter trend bounce? Well, one step at a time, right? First thing we need to find is a weekly swing cycle low. And that will need those criteria I spoke about. We need a swing low pivot in place on the chart. We will need a trend line break to confirm it. We will need the DSS Brexit to cross on the weekly time frame. And all of that, plus a move above the 10 SMA, will point to a push to the upside, right? That will point to the move being in, right? The swing being in. And then from there, it will either rip to new all-time highs in practically a straight line without looking back, okay? And everyone will be doubting it the whole way up until we get to here, and then they'll be FOMOing in at the top and saying there's no more cycle, it's a super cycle straight to 1,000,000. Or it will do this and then spend about 2 weeks not making a new price extreme. After it spent 2, maybe 3 weeks crawling back up here, not making a new price extreme, it will then begin to roll over. That's it. So it's either going to be one of these kind of sideways cycles, and it would look kind of like this bit here, right? Roll over, no new price extreme. Or it will come swinging out of here violently, rip everyone's face off. They're all FOMO in at the top and call 1,000,000, and they'll all be wrong. The hardest part about it really is just taking it one day at a time and being open to everything. What about 2028, the US going to stable coin, erase debt? I don't think that's how it works, but I did make a video on that. Why did you remove comments from your X post? Because I don't have time, bruv. I don't have time. If you're a member or Slice Crew, you can contact me, right? Why do I need to be wasting my time on X? X is extremely toxic relative to the other platforms. X is the place where I get misquoted the most. And yeah, I just get sick of it, man. It's just a waste of my time. So that's all really. The market separates the boys from the men. Most everyone is bearish. Yeah, I will say that, Jeff. It feels contrarian right here to be bullish. It feels contrarian to be bullish here. But we've got to acknowledge a couple of things, right? I'm seeing a couple of misnomers. First of all, some people are saying, no way this is the top because it's, absent of a blow-off top. As we know on this channel, tops can be sneaky and quietly roll over like this. That's the first thing. The second thing is, just because sentiment's bad now doesn't mean that that's not the top and the sentiment's not right, okay? Like, there's nothing in the world of trading that says this couldn't be a real top. It absolutely could. And the other thing I keep seeing is, people are saying we're not going to get a significant decline in the bear market because we're absent of a blow-off top, right? And that only works in one direction. The higher it goes and the more vertical it goes, the more it comes down. That's a rule, okay? But it doesn't work in the opposite direction. So just because we've slowly worked our way up here does not mean we can't drop 99%, right? But I don't know where people have gotten this idea from, that we're only going to have a 35 or 40% bear market because we got no blow-off top. But I'm seeing that a lot online as well. So just keep that in mind, right? Like, anything and everything is on the table from here. I will say again, it does feel contrarian to be bullish here. And I don't know. It does. It feels like the sentiment is really washed, which is exactly what you'd be expecting at the weekly cycle lows. The actual technical setup looks perfect for a weekly cycle low. The sentiment matches. I haven't checked FOMO Finder, but I would imagine, that's still flashing purple every once in a while. I know the fear and greed made it all the way down to extreme fear, although I don't have a great deal of trust in that metric. But in here, there's plenty of flashes of purple, right? The whole way along. So we've reached panic plenty of times. And that's normally exactly what you see into weekly cycle lows as well. For me, because of how much trust and faith I have in these cycles, because of how many I've traded through, it's pretty easy for me to say, well, I know that this low is going to come. Whereas I think a lot of other people are kind of talking about, it's going to be really bullish because easing's going. They don't realize the cycles are actually in control, right? They actually think their macro matters, which is, they're going to find out, right? They're going to find out the hard way. So it feels contrarian to be bullish here. That's definitely true. But the cycles tell me that we're going to probably be in trouble. Something needs to happen by Monday. I don't know about Monday. It could be a month from now. There's nothing outside the cycles that say we couldn't. Back here, where is it here? It's because we're on the weekly time frame. Let me zoom in a bit. Back here, we found this low, found another low, and then spent a whole month doing this. and then we ripped. So we could do the same here. Low, low, whole month, another low, then rip. That would be within the realm of expectation. That wouldn't be crazy. Washed means reset. Yes, it does. We need Will Clementi to give us some backward looking, I don't know what you're talking about. Left translated cycle next time. Yeah, cycle theory says where it doesn't occur in cycle 4, it will occur in cycle 5. So on a balanced probabilities, I say yes. That will be my base case for next cycle. I don't know. Maybe Bitcoin is its own unique beast that only throws right translated cycles. I'll be open to that. I mean, I proved this time around that you can have a base case of left translation and still stay on trend, right? We did it once before, so we can do the same next cycle. We can have a base case of left translation and be open to a right translated cycle. I think it's even more likely to occur in cycle 5. But again, Bitcoin could be its own beast, right? What would be the hard invalidation if the downtrend continues? 74k, the lower low weekly close. What's the play? Wait until 70k and call it a bear market? No. There's plenty of opportunity between here and 74k, isn't there? Like, if you really think it's got a chance of going down there, you can be short here, right? You can do what I'm going to do, which is wait for a swing and play the swing. There's 1,000,001 ways to do it. Can we look at Bitcoin miners? We'll do that tomorrow in the weekend members video. If everyone is expecting a Q4 high, that means we don't get a cycle. Well, not really. We've had a Q4 high already. That could be it. If you're expecting S&P to go down to a weekly cycle low, how can at the same time... Well, they don't always move 1-to-1, you know. Camel, on Polymarket, you can bet on the USA confirming that aliens exist. It has an awesome risk-reward ratio. Okay. We'll see. I'll have a think about that. I've never used Polymarket. You're tired, boss. Yeah, I'm tired as well. I'm not going to lie. Everyone's saying riot. Oh, it's all one guy. Yeah, I think we're all tired, if we're honest. But that's okay. Is there a possibility the next 4-year cycle is a timing cycle? What? Is there a possibility the next 4-year left cycle is a timing cycle? Do you mean a timing-based low? If so, it is possible in theory, yes. I just don't think it's very likely. When would left trans start next year? It would start out of the 4-year cycle low, and the cutoff would be 2 years. It has to make an all-time high and peak before the 2-year mark in the cycle. Same as this cycle, it had to, halfway between this low and this low, it was November. It had to make a new high before that, but it then went on to make a high after that. That's why we called the inval and moved to right translation. So it'll be the same thing next time around. What is this? Oh, we don't want that. Go away. You noticed a wedge forming on silver? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Long and strong for now. Let the stop do the worrying. As a rule of thumb, does the stock market lead Bitcoin or does Bitcoin lead the stock market? I've never thought to look. I just trade them on an individual basis. When is the clear invalidation for this daily and weekly cycle low? What if it just keeps falling down and we enter a bear market here without any... Well, that's how it feels, doesn't it? That is how it feels. But that's also respectfully what people said here. And as is normal for cycles. And they said that here, by the way, as well. This one was very quick and over with. They also said it here and here. So this is what happens. We get here and people just start going, well, what if it just does this? What if, bro? I mean, it's not going to. It's just not. It's just not. I can't tell you exactly when this pivot is going to form. And I can't tell you when it does form exactly how strong it's going to, it's going to bounce. But I can tell you that on a balanced probabilities, we are going to see a cycle low any day now. And we're going to get a turn. And really, we're just waiting for the last people to give up on it. Once everyone's given up that's going to give up, then we'll turn, And we can kind of look at the Brexit as a clue, right? Like, it takes about 8 days, roughly speaking, from these levels to get across. If it took a bit longer than that, 10 days to get across, maybe. Can you wait another week? I know some people can't, and that's okay. You know, no one's forcing anyone to be here. But yeah, for now, we just wait for that swing to form. And once it's formed, we just draw a line underneath it. And then, to be honest, at that point, I actually think we're in good shape. If we're really being honest about it. You know, once we can draw a line under, because just say it bounces from roughly here. I don't care if it's here, 98, 95, 92, who really cares, right? But once it does this, we can draw a line under there and say, no matter what happens, that's a hard invalidation, okay? And we bought it here, and we're guaranteed to walk away with this. I think that's pretty good going. I think there's worse positions to be in. And what if it's not 80k like that red squiggle was? What if it instead is 98k or 100k like where we are now? What if we get a pivot from here in the next couple of days? And then we draw a line underneath that. And again, we bought here. No matter what, we're going to walk away with about 100k per Bitcoin. I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good going. It's just, you know, a lot of people right now are in their own heads and like, oh, what if, you know? But what if your house gets blown down by a hurricane? Then you have bigger problems to worry about, right? Like, we can play the what if game all day, every day. I don't really think it's that helpful. I think just wait for the setup, right? The setup will come. I don't know if it's going to come from here or from lower down. I don't really care, to be frank. Even if it breaks 74k, right? Everyone's going to go short of 74k, and then it's going to rip their faces off and come back, and then it will roll over and screw everyone, right? That's just how markets work. So, I don't know. Go fishing. Turn the screen off. Do something, right? We'll be okay. Any update on Bitcoin miners? Yeah, I'll update them for members tomorrow. There's no real changes, though. Don't be a tape slave, right? Obviously, with Bitcoin looking weak and sentiment being washed and people giving up, they're suffering a little bit. But, you know, I always say this, don't I? Give me my credit. You've got to be willing to give back large chunks of open profit in order to stay on trend. I'll show you HUT, because HUT's the best example of this. There's no better example, right? Look at my HUT trade. Look at this. Look how much profit we've given back. This doesn't even look like anything down here, but these pullbacks were 43, 50 odd %. Then we gave back, I don't know, 60%. Then here we gave back 68%. And now look at this, cooking with peanut oil. And at the hard right edge, we are currently giving back to that low was 36, to the current level, 26. I mean, are you a man or a mouse, right? If you don't want to give back any profit, then you should have sold on the first pullback. Should have sold somewhere lower down here as soon as it showed first sign of weakness, right? But I don't care. I don't care. I don't look at the price. I don't look at the numbers. I don't look at the percentage. I don't look at how many pairs of Louis Vuittons I can buy my wife. I don't look at any of this. I look at, is there a trend line here? Yes. How about this one? Yes. How about this one? Yes. My only concern for when I'm in a trade like this is, does this now do what I think and hope it's going to do, which is kind of turn around soon and push to new highs? In which case, then I can push my trade a little harder. Then I can draw another line in here and push my trade a little bit harder. And then my only focus becomes on, can I sell that final breakdown? That's all I care about. You know, everything else is noise. Absolutely everything else is noise. So, you know, it is what it is. And again, you don't have to, this is not the only right way to trade. Right? If you want to draw a line in here and sell that, and then draw another line here and buy that, and then draw another line here and sell that, you're entitled to do that. It's just not in my nature to be in, out, shake it all about. I don't want to do that. I like to push the trade for a while and pay myself at the end. But that doesn't make it right. That's just what works for me. Should I sell my altcoins? I don't know. I'm not an altcoin guy. Tinfoil hat time. Gov remains closed because they know what Free Eye Atlas is, and they're too busy making plans on how to deal with it. Maybe. I mean, the Black Swan alien thing is going to be crazy. If aliens arrive, I would imagine we limit down for days on end once the rest of the world loses its mind. I will break my rule about I told you so. I told you so has no value in markets, right? But if aliens show up, I am going to say I told you so, and I'm going to say it loud on a near daily basis. Okay? Yeah, if you trust the cycles, if you've seen enough of them, then I think you're pretty relaxed here. I think it's everyone else that's kind of worried about it. If we break 98k and there's no immediate swing, will you short? No. It is outside the parameters of my system. I'm looking for a market to bottom here in a turn. I'm not looking for short entries, right? Like, if you want to short, you need to draw third or fourth angles and then short them when they break down, or wait for them to break down, bounce to a confirmed lower high, and then short that. I don't just short because, I don't know, because 98K. 98K doesn't even have a significance. That's not even a significant level on the chart. You know, some people will argue it is, but to me it isn't. Too much winning. Yeah, it has been a good cycle. I know not for everyone, but for me, and I know a lot of the Camel Crew, has been fantastic. The herd is all bearish, all leverage shorts. The problem with the herd is they're still saying Fartcoin looks good here, aren't they? You know, I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters what happens short term. Bitcoin, Euro, I never look. It doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. Selling long-term holders now. I don't know. What colour are my eyes? Brev. Get a job. Yep, still aiming 40k gold. 2033 maybe. Maybe 2030. We'll see. When are we expecting the weekly cycle low on the stock market? It's about 20 days, 20 trading days from now. So somewhere in that kind of 8th of December window. You bought the cycle indicator. Thank you for reminding me. We have the final day of discount today. So if you want something to plot all the cycles and give you high probability lows to structure your trades around, then maybe try this out. You get a 2-week free trial. You can cancel it anytime and you won't have to pay for anything. There's a real customer service support team behind it. There's a whole heap of testimonials on the website. You can go and watch them and see what other people think and how they're using it. Because pretty much every trader we know, every trader in the community uses this indicator slightly different. So that speaks to how powerful it is and how adaptable it is. And yeah, you can claim a $130 discount off a yearly package if you use the code HUMPKIN and you still get your 2-week free trial. So yeah, last chance, right? Last chance. I promise you it will make you a better trader. And for some reason, if it doesn't, then you can just cancel. It's totally risk-free. And whilst you're in there, there's a whole heap of educational content. There's a whole heap of other stuff. There's an AI chatbot that will answer cycle trading questions. We trained the bot to answer cycle trading questions. The indicator works on all time frames, on all assets, and blah, 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 blah. So buy my stuff and you won't look back. I promise. You won't look back, right? Go and read the reviews. Don't take my word for it. Can I check ZEC? Just because it's pumping, man. You know? I guess we can. Market cap of ZEC. Boom. Yeah, I mean, it is pumping. I do wonder, actually, is this random? Is this random? Or does this have wider implications? Does some insider somewhere, or some insiders, have some information about something that is going to increase demand for privacy soon? That's what I wonder about this. Or is it just another altcoin pump? I don't know. But I do wonder. You will get tired of winning. Still quitted cigarettes. Yes, I did, mate. I did. Yeah, cold turkey was the way. I've not used the pouches. I think. Yeah, I don't know. Good luck, bro. I just went cold turkey. Big bids, absorbing 100k level. Yeah, that's another way to look at it, right? Isn't it? Like, if there was loads and loads of sellers and everyone was selling aggressively, then we'd probably be a lot lower than 100k by now. It's taken weeks to get a 20% decline. Seems quite orderly to me. But who knows? Leave me alone. Trading view. If we topped over 6, does that mean cycles have shortened? Nope, not at all. Just means that would actually mean that they are weirdly simulation type consistent. That's what that means. Tuesday's gone $100. What did I do to deserve this? Thank you very much. Can we get W in chat for Tuesday's gone, please? Campbell, thanks again for what you do. This channel is hands down. I can't even read this. Let me pull this over. Channel is hands down the best source of not financial advice related to cycle trading on our planet. Well, you just made my whole day, Tuesday. Thank you very much. It's really touching. I actually really appreciate that. So thank you very much. I really, really, really do appreciate that. Oh, it appears I missed a couple more. Okay, let me scroll back up. Luck Crypto, $4.99. Thank you. Camel, thanks for all your work. Can I check on the MACD on the 27-day candles? I'm not sure what you mean by... What do you mean 27-day candles? What does that mean? Luck, can you clarify what you mean by that, please? I'm not sure what you mean. Hey, Camel, if we talk for gold and Bitcoin, what would be your price prediction for them both at the 4-year cycle low? I appreciate you don't know the exact price. Well, cycles predict time, not price. I would guess... It is just a guess, okay? Nothing more than a guess. I have no idea. But I would guess gold will fall somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000. I know that's a massively wide window, but again, cycles predict time, not price. And Bitcoin, I think, will fall somewhere between 50 and 70k. I think. Yeah, that would be my guess, but I don't know. I don't know. What is the clear invalidation for the... Did we answer this one? Yeah, I think we answered that one. That's cool. There are no more narratives to push price higher. This is the beautiful thing. We do not need a narrative because we have the cycles. The cycles are aligned to push price higher. And so the market is about to find a narrative. That's the beauty of it. The market is about to figure out what it wants to use to explain away this. And we don't know what that's going to be yet. But we do know for sure once this cycle turns, the market is going to find something to blame that on. They are going, whether it's a Trump tweet or some macro data set or the government reopening or aliens coming and announcing some kind of lightning payment rails with Zeta Reticuli. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be something, okay? The market will find a narrative. It is the cycles that are in control and everything else is narrative, remember. So we will find something to explain away that upside. Luck, custom time frame 27 days. Brother, who uses that? I don't even know. I don't even know if... Oh, goodness me. Gov shutdown end. Yeah, it could be that. It could be that. How far are we from a cycle low on TLT? Pretty close now. Any day now. Oops. Oh my gosh. Get off. Pretty close, aren't we? I almost wonder, though, if this is going to need a couple more daily cycles. I wonder if I'm going to have to redraw. I'll hide my yellow squiggle for now. And I might try and cheat this. Let's draw a red squiggle, actually. I wonder if we're going to get daily cycle low, weekly cycle low, and then that will flush. The reason I say that is just to flush this low from back here. We never swept it. Okay? So I'm kind of thinking there must be lick. There must be some juicy lick down there where everyone's stops are. And that's where I want to enter. Now, maybe I don't know. Because at the same time, it does look pretty bottomed here, doesn't it? Really does look pretty bottomed. So there's that. But I just wonder. I wonder if we're going to get away with it. Definitely close to a daily cycle turn, but I think we're going to need a bit more time to work out the weekly cycle. Will money move from gold, other metals, platinum? I don't know. I don't think so. The narrative excuse explanation for a pump would be the government reopening. Liquidity injection, that's true. Yeah, TGA. Rate cuts. New pro-Trump Fed governor. Yep, something like that. It will be something like that, won't it? Not that there are less buyers now than half a year ago. Yeah, brother, this is... For this guy here, DFSG, blah, blah, blah. If you don't really need to be here. I say this with love, right? This is a cycle trading channel. And if you don't understand cycles, then you're just, everything we say here is just going to completely confuse you or trigger you in some way, shape, or form. The best thing to do would be to go and watch the tutorial playlist and learn the rules, and then come back and join the, decide if you want to join the Camel Crew or not. But saying things like this is just silly. It just shows that you never understood, you never went to learn the rules of cycle theory. So, you're just going to have a headache on this channel all the time if you don't learn the rules. So maybe go and learn the rules, and then this channel will make a little bit more sense, I hope. Has Coinbase topped or still in recovery? Don't know, too early. Looks top though. Looks like it's leading to the downside. I would be a heavy seller of Coinbase here if it wasn't for that weekly cycle low about to bottom in Bitcoin. I don't know. It's tough. There's a lot of mixed messages at the moment. Juicy lick, good entry. Yeah, I'm thinking this too. Maybe it just feels too good to be true though. The indicator says we're putting in a weekly cycle low on TLT now. Yeah, we could be. We could be. By the way, there's some noise on regional banks being under stress. Yep, historically very good for Bitcoin. That could be a narrative too, right? They could definitely use that as a narrative. Imagine if a bank collapses. Bitcoin, every time it's ever seen a bank collapse or a bank be under a lot of stress, has staged a 20% upside candle. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens. And then again, think about the irony of it, the poetic irony, right? That if that happens, the whole of crypto Twitter, all the YouTubers, the mainstream media, every man and his dog will be saying, oh, nobody could have seen that coming. Bitcoin was about to enter a bear market. It was well on the way to being in a bear market. And then banks collapsed and it just shot up, right? But what will we be able to say? Well, it bottomed into a weekly cycle low and then they use that as narrative, right? Like, it's funny how the cycles will predict the news, but everyone else is just unaware of the cycles, right? But yeah, something like that I think would be perfect. The market will find an excuse, as it always does. Under the assumption that we have already seen a weekly cycle of the S&P, why would it need to have a blow off top and not simply roll over and die? Well, if it's reset the weekly cycle in one daily candle of 3%, then that would mean it's in a blow off top. It's not would have to have one. It's clearly already in a blow off top. Where's my, look at this. I know people don't like this chart, but I don't care. Look, range break of 82, parabola. This is the S&P 500, and people want to say put it in log, price it in gold, price it in M2SL. I don't care. Why should I have to change my strategy? This is the same strategy I always use, right? Like, it's in a parabolic blow off top. It's late stages in a 42-year bull market. There's another way to measure it, by the way. We could say that this is one cycle to here, and then a new bull market started here. We could do that as well, but it's the same result, isn't it? Like, it's still one angle in here, 2 angles in here, 3 angles. Boom. We're still in the third and final blow off top angle. What do you think happens from here? So, yeah, I don't think we're saying a blow off top is coming. I think we're saying we're well and truly in a blow off top in the final stages. Oh, let me show you this as well whilst we're here. So I got a question, and the question was, taking this chart here, okay, which is SPX divided by gold. The question was, why not use the bottoms to measure the cycles instead of from top to top? Why not measure it bottom to bottom? And so I thought, interesting question. So look what we got, right? SPX divided by gold, perfect Hurst cycles, 16 years, each one of these arcs, and each one perfectly subdivides into 4 4-year cycles to give the larger order degree 16-year Hurst cycle. And we just so happen to be well on our way to the downside for the stocks, right? So this is, remember, if the completion of this 4-year cycle low is the stocks underperforming gold for the foreseeable future, right? It's really weird that I didn't go looking for this. I just threw it on the chart. So I was like, yeah, I wonder what that looks like if you measure it from low to low. And this is what it looks like. So I still think we're on the right side of the trade here. I do. From a fellow schizophrenic, aliens in 2027, Camel is the, yeah, maybe. Not the Palladians though. They don't care about us. I'm worried it's a reptilian thing, to be fair. Some of that hostile stuff. You find it very difficult to believe that the market makers in exchange would leave 20 billion in shorts on the upside of the table before going into a bear. Who knows? Who knows? They can leave it there for the completion of the 4-year cycle, then come back to snatch it later in life, though. A lot of regional banks have issued a lot of CRE loans. Yeah, commercial real estate has corrected quite a bit. Yep. Isn't that a hyperwave on the S&P 500? I don't know if it meets, it certainly looks like one, but I don't know if it meets the requirement for rise over run. Is Josh Mendel still calling for 444? Yeah, I think today. Four phase on SP. I'm not sure if it is. I'm not sure if it qualifies as hyperwave. What about ETH? Counter swing ahead. ETH looks like it's in danger. I was going through this with the Slice crew today, right? Like, it really has to bounce here, doesn't it? It really does. Because right now, breakdown, retest, possible resumption. Okay. Now, it too is trying to bottom for its weekly cycle. And next week's candle being strong and green and confirming a pivot and breaking out from here would be extremely bullish. It would also be extremely typical, wouldn't it, to stage a false breakdown into a weekly cycle low. So I wouldn't be ready to give up on this just yet. But the problem we've got here is if this is a real breakdown and we can't recover soon, then where's your next line in the sand? Like, you could argue this box in here, but then by this point you've bag held this thing 50 or 60%. Okay, and if you're not going to use this box, then all the way down to here, in which case that's real bad, right? That's 70 odd percent. I don't know. It really is now or never, right? I think I overuse those terms, and I use them quite loosely, admittedly, as you know. But, you know, this really does need to turn around by next week, doesn't it? Otherwise, you know, there's a real breakdown. That is a real breakdown. And then that thing I always say, push the trade until it becomes unreasonable to do so. Like, how do you justify pushing the trade with this happening as reasonable? You know, at what point do we call it unreasonable? Well, for me, we call it unreasonable at confirmed resumption, right? Breakdown, retest, and confirmed resumption. That right there is unreasonable. There's nothing below it. You know, if we had another trend line in here, you could say, well, okay, fine, we'll see if it holds this. But there's nothing. There's nothing down there. Like, all of this is just an air pocket. And unless you want to say, well, it's probably going to bounce off of that. I mean, it might, but pretty bad, right? So you better hope this thing turns. I mean, the Brexit says it will. So that's something. You know, that's pretty close, isn't it? Same as Bitcoin's. I don't know. Is that the pain trade? Is the pain trade to rip it higher just into early January? Convince everyone that was calling for a Q4 top they're wrong. Convince all the 4-year cycle is dead, bros. That is over because we just ran into Q1. And then it tops very early January, like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. Rolls over, heads straight down to that 4-year cycle. Only the people that know how to measure the cycles low to low correctly are the ones that can stay on the right side of that. Everyone else will be looking for another bounce and another run into Q1, Q2, Q3, whatever. Something inside of me thinks that may well be the absolute max pain trade. You force everyone that is calling for a top this year or a standard 4-year cycle to hold their hands up and admit defeat because we're now in January, right? Or the other option is, sorry, not the other option. We force everyone to think they're done for, right? And invalidate their setup because we just made a high into January, only to then roll over and head for that 4-year cycle low, forcing everyone else that's saying, I told you so, right? I told you it wasn't going to happen. All of those people would also be wrong, right? Because who's out here calling for a top like a few days into January? No one, right? Everyone's calling for it to top right here, right now, or already be topped, or they're calling for a much lengthened cycle. But no one's really saying we're just going to eke out a high a couple of days into January and then roll over and do normal 4-year cycle stuff. So part of me wonders if that's the way you harm the most market participants. That's the way you catch everyone offside. So yeah, I don't know. I do not know. Thanks for the work, brother. Thank you for the $5. I appreciate it. So yeah, I don't know. How long we've been doing this? Has it been an hour? It's very nearly been an hour. It may well be time to duck out and go and do something productive with our days. Jan or Feb top would be max paying. Yeah, something like that. Just early enough to make everyone say, oh, okay, I was wrong about this year. And not... And just late enough to not let anyone actually have any credit for the Q1 or Q2 top. Yeah. Are you here to trade Bitcoin, or are you a true believer under it all? Wait, I'm not sure I understand the question. Am I here to trade Bitcoin, or are you a true believer under it all? Oh no, I think I used to be a lot more of a believer than I am now. I used to be, but I don't really believe in it as much as I once did, and it's not really Bitcoin's fault. I just think the barrier to entry is too high for Bitcoin. I think it's just going to continue to be a tool that, largely speaking, just creates a bigger and bigger wealth divide. I think people that are already rich will use it to get even richer. And I think everyone else will just kind of be like, well, hopefully my altcoin can pump. Hopefully this is the next Bitcoin. And I think this cycle showed that perfectly. I think this cycle, everyone went after chasing shiny projects, and, you know, people don't even run nodes and they KYC all of their Bitcoin and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. I just think we're such a long way from using it properly that it's just not going to happen now. So difficult, real difficult. I mean, I do like it. I'm going to be buying it back at the 4-year cycle low. I've been trading it, both short-term swing trading and long-term, ever since my first allocation back here, right? I watched all of this happen and was like, no way am I buying that. And then this happened, and then I got in here, and yeah, it's been really good. It's been really, really good, right? And I've been in and out the whole way. I've been doing this publicly now ever since about here, I think. And yeah, we add supplemental trades on the way. We get core allocation at the lows. We're getting ready to dump that core allocation now, and we'll get another core allocation back here. So I believe in it insofar as it's nice to have that as part of your portfolio. I believe in it that it's going to make people that know how to use it and benefit themselves with it. It's going to make their lives better and their financial position be better off. It's nice to have some non-confiscatable, immutable peer-to-peer currency in case you ever need it. But do I believe it's going to be the freedom money and the Fed and all that kind of thing? No, not really. I think the market in aggregate has decided that we just want to cheer on institutions pumping our bags. And we just want more fiat. And I'm going to be completely honest, I'm even kind of in that boat myself. Like, I'm like, well, fiat's not so bad. Right? Like, until something massive changes, it's not so bad. I don't know. It's a weird one, right? It's a weird one. I do really, really like this asset class, but I kind of just was too autistic in my thinking. I was like, I love Bitcoin, and this is how I'm going to treat it. And therefore, that's how everyone else is going to feel. That's how everyone else is going to see it. That's how everyone else is going to behave. And it took me probably 8 years to finally be like, oh yeah, other people don't see things the way I see them. Other people don't act the way I act. Other people don't care the way I care. Right? It took me like from here to about here to come to this conclusion. And then I was like, well, of course, they're not going to do hundreds of hours of research. Of course, they're not going to run a node. Of course, they are not going to cold store their Bitcoin multi-sig. Of course, they are not going to willingly go the non-KYC route. Of course, right? Of course, they're not going to actually try to separate money from state. Like, they don't care. They want Shiba Inu, Cum Rocket, Doge, Fark coin, right? Just give me more fiat. So now I'm kind of like, fine. Just give me more fiat too, right? We're all going to eat the bugs together, right? You know, we had a chance and it's all over. So we ruined it. We dropped the ball. So yeah, man, I don't know. But I think it's kind of true. I think it's kind of messed up, right? It's kind of messed up. So, damn. Well, on that happy note, I suppose we should all go and enjoy the weekend, really. I might take my dog out. I think I might take my dog out. I might take my dog to go and see my mom. That's what I might do. Yeah. We could stare at the price ping between 100 and 99k, right? We could go on Twitter and see everyone flinging mud at each other and saying I told you so and doom posting and all this stuff. Or, yeah, Fartcoin looks good here. Like, we could just go, Fartcoin looks good here. I'm going to go see my mum and my dog. And that's that. Calm Rocket looks good here too. Yeah. We're all going to eat bugs together. Damn. Yeah, I'm sorry. I really killed the vibe there, didn't I? Like, that's... I'm so sorry. Oh, you guys deserve better, really. But seriously, though, thank you all for being here. Don't take life too seriously. That's my real message, right? That is my real message. And let's just relax and at least wait for a daily close, right? We will find a swing low soon enough, right? This too shall pass. And even if that swing low resolves to a lower high, we'll just use that lower high to let ourselves out. And we will go target in the 4-year low. And we'll find some other stuff to trade, right? There's always another pump. And we actually do a pretty good job on this channel of finding another pump. So yeah, I love you all. Thank you all for being here. Have a fantastic weekend. Deep dive tomorrow and level 3 members video tomorrow. So until then, all the best from me. Cheers. Bye.